Good morning, dear students. Let me welcome the 9th class students to this session of English 2. And today's class is our revision class 3. And in the previous two revision classes, we have discussed and revised our previous discussions as far as subject-verb agreement is concerned, as well as we discussed the correct use of nouns. Today we have the third revision class in which we will discuss the correct use of pronouns. And before understanding this revision class, let's have a little concentration, and for that, please sit Siddha with Dhyana Mudra and with closed eyes have Brahmanath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Relax. Dear students, let me again welcome you to this third revision class for the 9th class English 2 subject. And today we will have the revision class of a very important chapter, that is the correct use of pronouns. As we know, the correct use of pronouns is a chapter we have already discussed earlier, and we understood lots of instructions given for correct use of pronouns. And today we will just recap. That means to just revise briefly so that we can easily recall our previous understanding and will have confidence for speaking, writing as well as for your examinations. Okay? So before starting this, let me write a diagram over here so that we can start from the very basic conception till the last discussions we have made and will understand. Okay? Dear students, when we want to understand about the word, the pronoun, which is a very important part of speech, and it is an ocean, and we have to understand some of these instructions so that we can confidently use them for speaking and writing. So, let us to begin with this, some words we can use in place of nouns are called pronouns that you know. For that also, the examples like such you can better understand. Rama is a noun. In place of Rama, we can use he. He is the pronoun. Similarly, when we want to write a noun chair, we can replace this with it. It is the pronoun for chair. Similarly, Rama and Sita can be replaced by they. So, they is the pronoun of Rama and Sita. Understand? So, some words we can use in place of nouns, they are called pronouns. This is the basic idea. Okay? So, besides this, we have different types of pronouns. So, we have normally 4 different types of pronouns we have been using. What are they? They are the personal pronouns, relative pronouns, interrogative pronouns, and indefinite pronouns. Understand? Personal pronouns are such pronouns which are related with persons, like he, she, it, we, they, you. Understand? They are personal pronouns. Similarly, relative pronouns means who, whom, whose, that, which, of, which, these are the relative pronouns or such pronouns we can use in place of a noun, but that functions as a relation, functions as a relative to join two clauses. So they are functioning as pronouns as well as relatives, therefore they are called relative pronouns. Similarly, interrogative pronouns means some pronouns we use to have questions. Understand? To have questions about something. They are called interrogative pronoun. We can have questions for persons, we use who. For things and animals, what and which. These are some of the interrogative pronouns we also use in our interactions. Similarly, indefinite pronouns are also some pronouns that we will also discuss while discussing with them. Okay, so let's begin with what the instructions given to us so that we can use pronouns correctly. Okay, so let me write something over here so that you can better understand. Before going to understand the instructions given to us for the correct use of correct use of pronouns, as I have already told you, we have 4 different types of pronouns we have been using, like personal pronouns, interrogative pronouns, relative pronouns, indefinite pronouns. So let's understand first the personal pronouns, so it will be easier for us to understand the correct use of pronouns. Okay, so you see, when we talk about personal pronouns are completely associated with persons, and for persons we have been using certain pronouns, and personal pronouns have been grouped under 2 such used in 4 different ways. They are used as subjects, they are used as objects, possessives and reflexives. Understand? So here what you say, I is the subject of the personal pronoun I, and its object is me, possessive is mine and mine, reflexive is myself. Okay? Similarly, you see, we, us, our, ours, ourselves, you, your, yours, yourself, he, him is the object, his is possessive, himself is its reflexive form. So similarly, she, it doesn't have any objective form, it has a possessive form, is her, hers, herself. It does not have any objective form, it has a possessive form, is its, and reflexive is itself. Similarly, they is the subjective form, them is objective form, their and theirs are possessive form. Similarly, themselves are its reflexive forms. Okay, so when we talk about this possessive form, you see, possessive forms, there are 2 different things have been used for possessive forms. See, mine and mine. So what happens, both are possessive, but one is called possessive adjective, another is called simply possessive pronoun. Why we will say possessive adjective? Because after this possessive pronoun, if there is any noun is available, then it will function as an adjective, so we can say it is possessive adjective. If after this pronoun, if there is no noun, then it will be simply called possessive pronoun. Understand? So you see, this pen, this is mine pen. So we used mine, after the word mine, we used pen. This pen is mine. So after this mine, there is no such nouns are used. So this mine is used here only the possessive pronoun. Whereas mine pen we have used. So here my, our, your, they are being used as possessive adjectives. So you understood? The possessive pronoun, possessive adjectives, objective form, subjective form, as well as reflexive form of the personal pronouns. Now we will understand those instructions to use them correctly, so that we will have confidence for using pronouns correctly. Okay, for that, let me write some instructions over here so that you can better understand. Okay? While writing our statements or while speaking, we should have some instructions in our mind so that we can use the pronouns correctly in our sentences. For speaking as well as for writing. You see, here one instruction given. The complement of a be verb. Complement of a be verb. Complement means some words if we don't write in our sentence is incorrect, incomplete. Okay, to complete we must have some words in our sentence. So if any pronoun that comes after the be verb and functions as a complement, then it often should be in subject case. Okay, you see, the complement of a be verb is always in a subjective case. Here the example given, it was he who got 90%. So here you see was is here. Was is a be verb. We start be, am, is, are, was, were, this. Therefore, was is a be verb, and immediately after this there is a pronoun. So this pronoun is a personal pronoun. So it is functioning the complement of this be verb. Therefore, the complement of a be verb, if any pronoun is used, that must be in its subjective case. So here, he is the subjective case. Understand? So similarly, another example is given. It is I who help him in study. It is I who help him in study. So therefore, it is a be verb, and this is the complement of this be verb. Therefore, we have used its subjective case in our sentence while writing. So similarly, another instruction you see, object of a verb or a preposition. If any pronoun that comes after the verb or a preposition is always in objective case. This is the instruction. It should be in objective case. If the object of a preposition or a verb in our sentence is a pronoun, that must be in its objective case. You see, let you and me. Here let is a verb. Therefore, after this, the object of a verb, you, and here the me, you is often the subject as well as object, and me is the object case. Here you is object, me is also object, because they are the objects of a verb. Similarly, another sentence is here. He played with my brother and me. So here you see played, here is a preposition with, therefore my brother, and the pronoun is me instead of I. Understand? So these are the some instructions. Let us understand some more such instructions after them. Clear? Did you understand this both? Here are some other instructions for using pronouns correctly. What are those instructions? Let us understand. So the following verbs are followed by reflexive pronoun. There are some words in English. If we use them, then they must be followed by a reflexive pronoun. What are those verbs? The verbs like overeat, enjoy, and avail. If these verbs are used in our sentence, there must be a reflexive form of the pronoun, reflexive case of the pronoun after the verb or at the end of the sentence. So you can see here the example given. He overate himself and fell ill. Okay, we enjoyed ourselves in Bhubaneswar. Okay, similarly, you can avail this yourself. Understand? She can avail this herself. So, when these overeat, enjoy and avail, these verbs are available in our sentence, the verbs must be followed by a reflexive pronoun. Understand? So similarly, next is what? Reflexive pronouns are never used as subjects. We can never use a reflexive pronoun as a subject. Just like we use a pronoun as a subject, like I am a boy, she is a girl, they are my friends. So we use some pronouns as a subject, but the reflexive form of the pronoun can never be used as a subject. You see, the example is given. Myself can do this. Myself can do this is a wrong sentence. Because here, myself is used at the beginning of the sentence and functioning as a subject. Therefore, the sentence is wrong in accordance to this rule. The rule says that a reflexive form of a pronoun can never be used as a subject in our statements. Therefore, it can be correct if we write, I can do this myself. I can do this myself is a correct statement. But myself can do this is incorrect. Understand? So we understood some of the instructions for the correct use of pronouns. Let's understand some more such rules for using pronouns correctly. Okay? Here you see we have another instruction for the correct use of pronoun. That says the reflexive pronouns are used after verb plus preposition combination in our sentence. If in our sentence there is a verb and a preposition, after that we can use the reflexive pronoun there. But if the preposition is indicating a place or a location, then we cannot use this reflexive pronoun over there. You see here the examples is given. The look after yourself. We have written the reflexive form of yourself after this look verb plus preposition combination in our sentence, because after the verb plus preposition combination we can write the reflexive form of the pronoun. But when the preposition is indicating a place, we cannot write the reflexive pronoun. It is the rule. Here, see, another example is given. Put the child between them. You see, put is the verb and between is the preposition, and here we did not write themselves. We have written them, because here between is a preposition that indicates the place, the location. Therefore, the pronoun that follows never becomes the reflexive form. It remains as the objective form. Understand? So let's understand some other such instructions over here. Here is another instruction for the correct use of pronouns. What it says? The pronouns must agree with its antecedent. Pronouns must agree with its antecedent. That antecedent means the subject and its number, the person and the gender we have used before this. Antecedent means the word to which it refers back. So pronouns must agree with its antecedents in person, number and in gender. Okay, so here you see antecedent means the subject, you can say. Here the example I am telling you. So here you see all the passengers must show their tickets. You see here the passengers is a plural subject. Therefore this is the antecedent, and the pronoun is referring to this antecedent. It is plural subject. Therefore we have used that as a pronoun over there. Understand? So in accordance to this antecedent, the pronoun should be agreed with this antecedent. So unless if we will write our, her, my, it will not agree with this antecedent. Therefore this pronoun can satisfy or can agree with this antecedent. this pronoun refers back to its antecedents. If the antecedents, in accordance to this antecedents, person, number and gender, the pronoun is used. So similarly here you see, each of the girls, that means every individual girl, showed her homework. You see, when we are talking about only one girl, every individual girl, in that case, though its gender is feminine gender, so we have used singular with feminine gender, we have used her homework. Understand? So the rule is here, the pronouns must agree with its antecedent in person, number and gender. And the examples given over here. You see, we are just revising, briefly revising. We have already discussed them earlier. You can go through them. But to recall your past understanding, we are just revising them so that we will have confidence. Okay? So let's understand the next such instruction. Here you see another such instruction given for correct use of pronoun is that the indefinite pronoun, you know, indefinite pronouns are also there. One, someone, anyone, anybody, no one, nobody. These are the indefinite pronouns. So here you see one among them, one is also an indefinite pronoun. Understand? So the indefinite pronoun one should be used throughout. That means if used at all. That means if we have used the indefinite pronoun one at the beginning of our sentence, wherever we will use this, we have to use one only. We cannot use some other pronouns. You see, here is an example given. One must use one's best efforts. One must use one's best effort. So in place of this one's, we cannot write his. Understand? One cannot write his best effort. If we write his, then our sentence is incorrect in accordance to this rule, because the rule says if one is used at the beginning, then the same indefinite pronoun should be used elsewhere if necessary to use in our sentence. Only the same pronoun, we cannot use any other pronoun. This is a rule. You understood? We are revising. Just to recalling your past understandings. Let's revise briefly the other such instructions for using pronouns correctly. Here you see another important instruction for us to correctly use pronouns. What is that? We should carefully understand. When the subject of a verb, that means before the verb there is a subject. When the subject of a verb is a relative pronoun, subject of a verb is a relative pronoun. Relative pronoun means who, that, which, these are the relative pronouns. If the subject of a verb is a relative pronoun, care should be taken to see that the verb agrees in number and in person with the antecedent. Antecedent means before that. The pronoun should agree with this. What happens when the subject of a verb is a relative pronoun? That means who, that or which. Care should be taken to see that the verb agrees in number and in person with the antecedent. Here you see the example I have given here. This is one of the novels. Here, one of the novels. This is one of the novels. Then that. See, here novels, after this noun, that is there. That is functioning as a subject of this verb. So, when the relative pronouns are functions as a subject of a a verb, subject of a verb, then care should be taken with this antecedent. So here in person and in number. So here novels is given. It's a plural subject. So in accordance to this, we have to make our verb to satisfy and to have the agreement in between them. This is the rule. Rule is that if the relative pronoun is the subject of a verb, that means before this verb the relative pronoun is there. Therefore, this verb should agree with the antecedent. Understand? So if it is a plural subject, this verb should also be a plural subject and must agree with them. So this is very important rule. We should carefully understand and use in speaking and for writing. Okay? Any doubt you have? When the subject of a verb is a relative pronoun, care should be taken to see that the verb agrees in number and in person with the antecedent. Okay? So this is a relative pronoun. This is functioning as the subject of this verb, so that this verb must agree with this antecedent. If this is plural, then it should be plural verb to have the agreement. Let's understand some of the such instructions. You are clear about this? Okay. Here is another instruction for using pronouns correctly. So what is this instruction? Let's understand. If different personal pronouns are to be used together, they are placed in the following order. If in one sentence there are more than two personal pronouns have been used together, then we have to follow a certain order. Order is what? First we have to use the second person, then we have to use third person, then comes the first person. First second, then third, then first person comes. As in the example given, you see. You, they and we. You is second person, they is third person, and we, the first person, have got 95%. You, they and we, there are more than two personal pronouns used together in this sentence. In this case, what we will do? We have to use the second person first, then third person, then the first person in our sentence as the example is given. You, they and we have got 95%. Okay, so but what happens? The contradiction is over here. If this is in positive case. If we are talking about any fault or any problem, in that case, this order will be reversed. That means we will use first person, then third person, then second person, just reverse. So what happens? But if there is a mention of some fault, if there is a mention of some fault, the order is reversed. The order is just upside down. Okay? So here another example is given. We are briefly discussing. We are not analyzing everything. We are just revising to recall our previous knowledge. You see. So, I, he and you are responsible for this loss. This loss is talking about the fault. Understand? So when there is some fault, the order is reversed, and we have used the first person first, then the third person, then second person we have used just in reverse. But in normal cases, we use second person first, then third person, then first person as given in the first example. Understood? So this is very important rule, don't forget, because it will help us for speaking as well as writing and preparation for our examinations. Okay? Understood this? Okay. Let's understand the next rule for correct use of pronouns. Here you see another such instructions for the correct use of a pronoun. What is this? You see, if one pronoun refers to two or more persons, if a pronoun refers to two or more persons, the first person should be used rather than the second person. The first person, if first person, second person both are used in one sentence, then the pronoun we will use should be for the first person. You should see, here is an example given. He and I, two persons are referred. He and I should do our duty. So here you see the third person is given as well as the first person is given, or second person or the first person is given. So in that case what happened? He and I do our duty. When he and I mixed it became we, and the pronoun is our duty. Here our is the first person. Understand? So similarly, what happens if similarly the second person should be used, rather than the third person if used in our sentence. Here you see another example given. You and he, you is second person, he is third person, should do your duty. You and he both collectively became you. So the pronoun of the second person is your duty. So when two persons are referred by a pronoun, it should be first person instead of second person. Similarly, if second and third person is used, the pronoun should refer to the second person, not to the third person. Instead, don't be confused. We have discussed them. Now, today we are just recalling, revising them for your better understanding and developing confidence. Okay? So, now let's understand. You understood this? The rule is that if a pronoun refers to or more persons, then the first person should be used rather than the second person, and the second person should be used rather than the third person. Here in the example, he and I, two persons given, and the pronoun referred over here to the first person. Similarly, here in the second person, you and the second and third person is used. Here the pronoun refers to this second person. You, the second person, not to the third person. This is the rule. You know that. Let's understand the next such rule. Instruction for correct use of pronouns. Here you see some of the pronouns we use. We know them. We already know them. For what purpose we are using them. Still then we are revising them to just have more understanding, more clear understanding about the use of pronouns. You see, we have already learned that, we have already known that who, whom and whose are often used for persons. Used for persons. Similarly, we use which for lifeless things and animals. We use which for lifeless things and for animals. Similarly, we use that for persons, things and animals. You see, that is a very important pronoun. It can be used for anything. It can be used for persons, can be animals, can be things, can be places, for everything. You see, that is a very powerful pronoun. Also a relative pronoun. See, similarly, either, neither always speaks about the involvement of two persons. When we think of the involvement of two persons, so we can use either or neither. It speaks of the involvement of only two persons. Similarly, if we use any can be used to refer more than two persons. Where there are more people, more persons, not two exactly. Where there are more than two persons, we use any. Similarly, each other is also we use when we speak of the involvement of two persons. Instead, when there are the reference of two persons, we can use each other, either, neither, all those things. But one another is another pronoun we can use when we are speaking of the involvement of more than two persons. Understand? So just like any. Understand? So we know this. Again we have discussed them to understand more clearly, so that we understand who's used for persons, who is used for things and lifeless things and animals, that used for persons, things and animals, places, either neither involves only two persons, any refers to more than two persons, each other refers to only involvement of two persons, one another refers to more than two persons. Clear? So these are the things we have already known. Let me write some examples so that you can better understand. Okay? Let me write over here. Here you see, we will understand now how we are using those pronouns we discussed just before. So here we use who, whom, whose for persons, which is for animals and things, lifeless things, that is for persons, animals, things, either, neither refers to persons. Okay, so any refers to more than two persons, each other refers to two persons, one another refers to more than two persons. So in accordance to their use, we have written some examples over here. You just see. I don't know who has done it. So when the work comes up doing, then a person can only do this. Therefore, to refer this person, we have used who. Similarly, this is the problem. This is the problem that or which I can't solve. The problem is not a person. It is a lifeless thing. Therefore, we have referred this problem using that or which, that involves lifeless things and animals. Similarly, neither of the two boys, not Rama, not Hari, neither of the two boys was sincere. When it involves two boys, we have used neither. Similarly, we can use either. Either of these two roads, there are two roads. Either of these two roads, this road and that road, both the roads, leads to the station, to the railway station, leads. So it involves either, neither, takes the singular verb, because it talks about singularity. She is taller than any of her four sisters. She has four sisters, and she is the only girl who is taller than any of her four sisters. It involves more than two persons. Therefore, we have used any to refer more than two persons. Similarly, when the two friends separated, okay, what happened? They embraced each other. This each other involves two persons. They embraced each other while they were parting away from each other. Instead, involves two persons. Similarly, all men should love. All men. It refers to lots of people. Everyone, all the people should love one another. This one another involves more than two persons and more persons. You understood how we have used who, that, which, either, neither, each other, any. Similarly, one another. These are some of the uses of these pronouns we understood. So dear students, you understood today? So today's class is only the revision. We have briefly revised the past discussions which we have already discussed earlier. You know them, and to just recall your past understanding, we have revised the instructions for the correct use of pronouns today. And I am sure this will be more helpful you for recalling your understanding and for your performance in your day-to-day interactions as well as in your examination. Therefore, for today, only this much. And you know this is the third revision class. I have already sent you 2 revision classes which includes previous chapters. This is the third chapter and we have revised all those chapters in different classes. Before examination, if you go through these videos, I am sure you will have confidence. You can write the answers correctly and you will get 100%. And I wish you all the best. Thank you. For today, only this much. Thank you. God bless you.